Interested in getting in physical therapy school? Wondering what the requirements are or if you even meet the requirements? Well, come on in. This video is for you. Hi, my name is Katrina Shaw. I'm one of the co-founders of Admissions Highway. We're a company solely focused on getting you into physical therapy school. Today, I want to talk to you about the requirements to get into physical therapy school. Requirement number 1. You have to have a bachelor's degree of some type to get into physical therapy school. Doesn't really matter what it's in, but you do have to have a bachelor's degree. If you have your master's or your PhD, congratulations, you're ahead of the curve. But you do have to have a bachelor's degree of some type. I will tell you, some bachelor's degrees, or some, depending on what you get your degree in, it may lend better to helping you as you progress through physical therapy school, but that's a completely different video. All you need really, at minimum, is a bachelor's degree to get into physical therapy school. Requirement number 2. You have to have the prerequisites to get into physical therapy school. At minimum, you need an A or a B in these classes. Some programs will tell you they want you to have a 3.0 GPA. That means you might not necessarily need all A's and B's. You might be able to get your occasional C as long as you meet the minimum GPA requirement. I will tell you, however, most programs are looking for you to have A's and B's in your prerequisite courses. Now, there's an exhaustive list of prerequisite courses required on PTCAST. However, for the most part, most programs have a common list of common classes that they require. You can find that below, right here. I'll put a link in. That's the common list that most programs are requiring. What you will need to do, though, is we will need to figure out, based off the programs you want to apply to, exactly what courses they are looking for. Now, if you're applying in your senior year and the application process ends in November, ends in October, and you don't graduate until May, well, let's say you haven't taken 2 of those prerequisites and you're not taking those into the summertime or the springtime. Some programs, most programs, will admit you in what they call a conditional admit. They will admit you conditionally, saying that as long as you finish these prerequisites by the time you graduate and you finish them with a passing grade, then they will accept you into their program on the condition that you complete that course, okay? So you aren't necessarily expected to have them completed by application, but you do need to have just like 1 or 2, maybe at most, left or outstanding is what they call them by the time you graduate. If you are one of those people that have your master's degree or your doctorate degree already, please know that most programs are also looking for you to have these courses completed within the last 10 years or so. So if you've taken them 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and you're deciding that physical therapy is your second career, that's fine, that's great. But just know you might have to go back and refresh those courses or retake those courses required for your prerequisite condition. Requirement number 3. You have to take a standardized course of some type. Most programs are looking for you to take the GRE. Now, you do have to take the GRE more than to get into PT school, but to get into the graduate program at most of your institutions. Okay, so they're going to be looking for you to take the GRE to get into the program. When do you have to take the GRE? Good question. You have to take the GRE before you graduate and before you apply. So if you take it in your freshman year, great. If you take it in your senior year, great. But you have to take it before you apply to PT school. The question that you're really wanting to ask is, what makes me have to retake the GRE? And that's going to be dependent on it's going to be dependent on a lot of things. It's going to depend on your GRE score the first time you took it, when you took it, because let's say you take it your freshman year and then you just use that and the program looks and says they could have taken this GRE several times and they just chose not to within the few years, and that makes you a less competitive applicant. So it's really going to be about making you a strong and competitive applicant. It's going to be what your score is, what your GPA looks like, what your holistic presentation looks like on when you need to take the GRE and if you have to retake the GRE. But you do at minimum have to take the GRE to get admitted into PT school. Requirement number 4. You need observation hours, people. We have to have observation hours to get into PT school. Now, some programs do not require observation hours. Some programs just say observation hours are highly recommended. I say observation hours are highly recommended as well. Now, You will find, depending on what program you want to apply to, that they want you to have observation hours in multiple settings. They may say we want you to have 10 hours of observation hours in 2 or 3 different settings for a total of 30 hours. You may apply to a program that says we don't want you to have any observation hours. I would tell you the benefit of observation hours is, one, it allows you to see what this PT thing is really about. It also allows you to confirm that this is what I really want to do. It is what I think it is. It is what I want to do. I will say during my observation hours as a physical therapist, that's where I learned I didn't want to be a nurse. Never wanted to be a nurse, but observing as a physical therapist and watching what the nurses had to do, I knew then that 12-hour nursing shifts in a hospital setting was definitely not my calling, okay? So you definitely want to get these observation hours in, if nothing else, to confirm to you that this is what you want to do. Observation hours also allow you to have real life and personal experiences that will lend towards these essays that you're going to have to write. So some of these essay questions, depending on what institution you apply to, is going to lend towards that, so that you can speak from your own personal experience and that you can speak from a knowledge that you already possess versus trying to make things up. It'll make life overall easier for you. Requirement number 5, you will need a letter of recommendation. Again, there's an exhaustive list on PTCast varying by schools. Most schools are going to require you have a letter from a physical therapist and an academic letter, as well as maybe one of your choice or something else. What I will say, back to those observation hours, if we all know that you most likely will need a letter from a physical therapist, if you have observation hours, that means you have a physical therapist who you've worked with, who you've conversed with, who knows a little bit about you. It automatically allows you to have your letter of recommendation from a physical therapist that you've already formed a relationship with. And if you do it in multiple, or if you observe in multiple settings, that allows you to have multiple physical therapists in case you need more than one physical therapy letter, okay? So letters of recommendations are also a part of what you need to get into physical therapy school. 5 things that we have. You have to have a bachelor's degree. You have to either be about to complete your bachelor's degree within the next semester of application, or have already completed it. You have to have your prerequisites completed. You have to have a standardized test, the GRE. You have to have observation hours, and you have to have a letter of recommendation, okay? So those are the 5 major things you need to get into physical therapy school to meet the requirements. If this information was helpful or beneficial to you in any way, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube page, share our content, like us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, join our Facebook group. I'm so excited about your future, and I can't wait to get you in.